Mail-order bride got off at the wrong station, but a little girl said, "Papa, God finally answered us." The train screeched as it slowed into the small, dusty station of Willow Creek. Clara stepped down carefully, clutching her worn carpet bag, her heart pounding in her chest. The station was nearly empty, only a few farmers in straw hats and women carrying baskets. She glanced around, searching for the man she was supposed to marry, Mr. Samuel Hargrove, a widower who had sent for her from a town far west. His letters had been kind, his words steady. After years of loneliness and hardship, Clara had answered his advertisement for a wife. But something felt off. She expected a bustling station, someone holding a placard, or at least a man scanning the crowd for her face. Instead, a little girl tugged at her father's hand and whispered in wonder, "Papa, God finally answered us." Clara froze. The girl's wide hazel eyes were fixed on her. The tall man beside her, bearded and broad-shouldered, followed his daughter's gaze. His eyes met Clara's, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. A wrong turn of fate. "Excuse me," Clara said, her voice trembling. "Is this Silverton Station?" The man shook his head. "No, ma'am. This is Willow Creek. Silverton's the next stop, 50 miles west." Her heart sank. She had gotten off at the wrong station. Panic swelled in her chest. How could she be so careless? She'd never traveled this far before, and now she was stranded with no one waiting for her. The little girl tugged her skirt gently. "Are you our angel?" she asked in a whisper. Clara knelt down, startled. "Angel?" The girl nodded. "I asked God last night to send us a mama. Papa works so hard, and I miss having someone to tuck me in." The father's face flushed with embarrassment. "Lydia," he said gently, "don't trouble the lady." He tipped his hat. "Sorry, ma'am. My little girl's imagination runs wild." But Clara's eyes misted. She touched Lydia's hair softly. "It's no trouble at all." A stranger's kindness. The man introduced himself as Thomas Whitfield, a rancher. His wife had passed 3 years earlier, leaving him to raise Lydia alone. When Clara explained her mistake, his brow furrowed. "Silverton's a long way off, and no train till tomorrow. You'll need a place to stay." She hesitated. "I don't wish to impose—" "Nonsense," he said firmly. "We don't leave folks stranded in Willow Creek." And so Clara found herself in a simple but warm farmhouse that night. Lydia chattered endlessly at the supper table, asking Clara to tell her stories, begging her to braid her hair. Clara laughed more than she had in years. Thomas mostly listened, though now and then his gaze lingered on Clara, filled with quiet curiosity. The letter that changed everything. The next morning, Clara was supposed to catch the train to Silverton. But Lydia clung to her skirt, sobbing. "Don't go. You're supposed to stay with us." Clara's heart twisted. "Sweetheart, I'm not who you think I am. I was meant to marry someone else." But as she boarded the train, a strange heaviness filled her chest. She looked back at Thomas and Lydia standing on the platform, the little girl's tears shining in the sun. The train pulled away, carrying her toward the life she had planned. Yet that night, as the wheels clattered against the tracks, Clara couldn't shake the image of Lydia's pleading eyes. And when she finally reached Silverton, she was greeted by a cold, stern man, whose words in person didn't match the warmth of his letters. His eyes were calculating, his tone commanding. Clara realized with a sinking heart that Samuel Hargrove didn't want a partner. He wanted a servant. That night, she wrote him a letter. "I cannot be the wife you seek. Forgive me, but my heart has already found its home. By mistake, perhaps, but by providence all the same." God's answer. 2 weeks later, Clara returned to Willow Creek. She stepped off. The days in Willow Creek moved slower than the bustling towns Clara had known, but in that gentle rhythm, she found peace. Life on the ranch wasn't easy. Clara woke before sunrise to gather eggs, help mend fences, and prepare meals hearty enough to fuel Thomas and the ranch hands. Her hands, once soft, grew rough from labor, but she didn't mind. Each evening, she sat by the fire with Lydia curled against her, braiding her hair or reading from a tattered storybook. For the first time in years, Clara felt useful, needed, loved. A whisper of doubt. Still, doubt lingered in the shadows. Some townsfolk whispered behind her back. "She came here by accident. Mrs. Calloway muttered at the general store. What kind of woman just abandons her promised husband? Others suggested she was chasing Thomas's land, not his heart. Clara pretended not to hear, but the words stung. She had chosen love, not security, but proving that to others was harder than she thought. One evening, as Thomas repaired a fence, he noticed her troubled look. "Don't let folks' tongues bother you," he said gruffly. "I don't, and Lydia surely doesn't." "But what about you?" Clara asked quietly. "Do you believe I came here for the right reasons?" Thomas set down his hammer, wiped his brow, and studied her. "Clara, you could have stayed in Silverton. You didn't. That tells me all I need to know." His words steadied her heart. Lydia's dream. Lydia blossomed under Clara's care. Her once lonely, restless nights were filled with lullabies and whispered prayers. One night, as Clara tucked her in, Lydia whispered, "Do you think Mama in heaven asked God to send you to us?" Tears pricked Clara's eyes. She kissed Lydia's forehead softly. "I think she did, sweetheart. And I think God listened." Thomas, standing silently in the doorway, caught the moment. For the first time in years, his chest felt light. Perhaps he too had been answered. Trouble on the horizon. Just as peace settled in, a letter arrived that shook their fragile happiness. It was from Samuel Hargrove, the man Clara had left behind. "You humiliated me," the letter read. "You broke your promise, and I will not be made a fool. Expect me soon." Clara's hands trembled as she read it aloud to Thomas. Lydia clutched her hand, eyes wide with fear. Thomas's jaw tightened, his protective nature flaring. "If he comes here, he'll answer to me." But Clara's heart raced. She knew Samuel wasn't the type of man to walk away quietly. His pride was wounded, and men like him didn't forgive easily. For the first time, she wondered, had she put Thomas and Lydia in danger by stepping off at the wrong station? The news spread fast through Willow Creek. A stranger had arrived on horseback, sharp-suited, cold-eyed, asking after Clara. Samuel Hargrove wasted no time making his presence known. He rode up to the Whitfield ranch just as the sun dipped behind the hills, dust swirling in the dying light. Clara stood on the porch, her heart pounding. Thomas stepped outside, shoulders squared, jaw set like iron. Lydia clung to Clara's skirts, peeking from behind her. The confrontation. "So, this is where you've hidden yourself," Samuel sneered, dismounting. "You embarrassed me, Clara, left me waiting like a fool. Do you think I'll just let that pass?" Clara steadied her trembling hands. "I didn't hide. I made a choice. Your letters promised kindness, but when I met you, I saw the truth. You wanted obedience, not love." Samuel's eyes darkened. "And what's this? You throw yourself at a widower with a patch of dirt and a brat for a daughter?" Before Clara could speak, Thomas stepped down from the porch, fists clenched. His voice was low but dangerous. "Careful what you say about my daughter, and about the woman under my roof." Samuel smirked. "She's my bride. By law, she belongs to me." "No," Clara said firmly, finding her courage. She stepped forward, her voice steady. "I don't belong to you. A promise made under false pretenses isn't binding. My heart belongs here." She looked at Thomas, her voice softening. "With them." The turning point. Samuel's face twisted in rage. He stepped closer, but Thomas blocked his path, towering over him. "You'll leave now," Thomas said, his tone like stone. "You have no claim here." For a tense moment, it seemed Samuel might fight, but the weight of Thomas's stance and the gathered neighbors who had begun to circle the ranch, drawn by the commotion, made him falter. "Fine," Samuel spat. "Rot in this backwater town if you like, but don't think you've heard the last of me." He swung onto his horse and rode off, his threats echoing in the dust. A family-forged silence settled after his departure. Clara turned to Thomas, fear and relief flooding her. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bring trouble." Thomas took her hand, rough and warm. "You didn't bring trouble. You brought life back into this house, into me. Don't ever doubt that." Lydia slipped her tiny hand into Clara's. "See, Papa? God really did answer us." Clara knelt, hugging the little girl tight. tears streaming freely now. Yes, darling. He did. Thomas wrapped his arm around both of them, pulling them close. For the first time, Clara truly believed she was home, not by chance, but by destiny. Epilogue. Months later, the church bells of Willow Creek rang as Clara and Thomas stood before the congregation, Lydia holding both their hands proudly. The whispers in town had turned to smiles. The story of the mail-order bride who got off at the wrong station had become a tale of providence, of love found where none was expected. And as Clara looked at the faces of her new family, she realized something profound. Sometimes the wrong station is exactly where God intends you to get off.